let's switch channels. This show is dull.
You bet.
What is that?
Okay, g'day viewers. Let's go. We've got Old Hammer Round 1, the Summer Smash Tournament, which was just last weekend, 2,000 points. And before we start, we'll have a quick look at the comp system. I missed the last tournament, so I think Vampires were runaway winners in the top few spots, and everyone's worried about Cathay. I missed the last one because I was away on a bike trip. So I missed the fun of having to fight the unkillable undead and so on. Anyway, if you're interested in my bike trips, a free plug to the Creaky Rider channel. So head over there if you want to follow my adventures out in the bush, getting lost and running out of petrol and stuff like that. Anyway, here is the army composition. 2,000 points, maximum total characters 800. Sort of a light touch comp system, targeted at undead. At vampires and tomb kings can't take their battle standard bearers. In the Ring of Jet, which, yeah, I agree with that. That's just crazy, having spamming rings of jet and so on. And Sky Lanterns are also reduced in number. You can't take the character Sky Lanterns, but you can still take Sky Lanterns, just not the character ones. I'm not sure, but anyway, until Games Workshop does something, which I don't think they will, they want to sell more of those very expensive lanterns. So anyway, I'm happy to play under any comp system. If a tournament doesn't have any comp, which I think the CanCon comp system is sort of arbitrary, don't be a dick type comp system, which I think is, because comp's very subjective. One person's idea of taking 3 balloons might be saying that's quite fair, and someone else might not think that's a good idea. Anyway, that's the comp system as it is. So, 800 points in characters. People complain that that's not enough, but that's 1,000 points is half, 50%. So it's only a slight reduction. Anyway, I'd rather see armies on the table than Hero Hammer and balloons. It just doesn't look like Warhammer. Anyway, with that comp restriction in mind, here is my list. So we'll have a look at my list here. So now, under version 1.5, that infantry get an outnumber bonus and things like that. So I decided it's safe to run big infantry blocks, and Orcs and Goblins still probably my favourite army, and I've been painting up lots of Orcs. I've got some Highland miniatures Orcs with war bows and so on, so I've mixed them in with some other bits and pieces that I've got. So there are a variety of different figures, my Orcs and the Night Goblins. So I decided to run, it was almost going to run no magic at all, but I thought, I probably want some magic for defense, and maybe Evil Sun Shining might be a good spell to get off. So I stuck the level 4 in there, and so that's my army, which is 3 big blocks of Orcs, no banners. I don't think I've got any magic items. I've got a war banner on that unit of Night Goblins there, which I always forget about. So virtually no magic items. That's my baggage up the back. And then I thought, if I face balloons, which will probably, you might have people with couple of balloons or something, or whatever, or dragons. I need something to reach out and get at them, so that's why I included the war machine. So my hope is that the Doom Divers and the Rock Lobbers can fend off any balloons and big monsters, because I don't have anything to scratch toughness 7. And I do have 9 fanatics, and I do have 4 war machines, so I've got some punch, so I'm not defenseless little Orcs moving around. So, and it's a lot of objectives. The scenarios require you have unit strength 10 and go and sit on different points or sit on the hill and so on. So that's my thought. I'll run my big Horde, and we'll see how we go. All right, no big strong characters, so I feel a bit defenseless. But anyway, round 1, we're going to be facing an Expeditionary Dwarf army, which has got 5 war machines and 2 gyrocopters, I'll put the army list up in a minute if I can find it, and a bunch of rangers and so on. Let me see if I can find the army list. I'll stick that in here. Right, here is the army list. So it's led by Burlock Damison. I call him Burlock Gunderson, because I'm calling him Gunderson from now on. Engineer, a couple of engineer sappers, a runesmith with some rune of calm, a rune of passage, whatever. A couple of scout gyrocopters. And I said rangers, but they're thunder. 2 units of 14 thunderers, 2 bolt throwers, 2 cannons, grudge thrower, and a big block of slayers. So I have faced the Expeditionary Force once, maybe twice before or something. I've definitely faced Burlock Gunderson. He gives reroll 1s to hit with shooting, I think. I'm not sure if it's an aura or the unit he's in, but anyway. And yeah, the engineers sappers, I've faced them before. They make you take dangerous terrain tests if you end up ending your move within their command range. We'll have a look at that in a minute in more detail. But the main thing is the big block of slayers is a bit different. I have faced the slayers before, and they do die pretty easy, the slayers, but they are unbreakable. And the scenario is King of the Hill. Not my favourite scenario, but they toned it down a bit for the tournament pack. You only score 100 points at the end of your turn, so not both turns. So it slows it down a little bit. Not quite so overpowering with the cumulative scoring, which I don't like. But it's King of the Hill. And there's the Slayers. The Slayers are formed up in March column. We'll talk about that in a second. And that's where Burlock Gunderson is, and the BSB, and that's his baggage. That's Lone Troll Slayer there on that black bit of thing is the baggage, and then the bolt thrower out in the corner. So he's got a bolt thrower on each flank. And the other thing, hostile terrain, right? So this is, we had a bit of a discussion before the game, and we had to clear it up because he was playing it wrong, I think. But it's just a dangerous terrain test if you end your movement within the command range of one of these sappers. So then my next question is, so that seems right. So if you're charging across this hostile terrain, you're going to have to take dangerous terrain tests. But if you charge them and then the sapper ends up engaged, then you don't have to take the dangerous terrain tests. That seems counterintuitive. I know it is Warhammer and there's always contradictions and so on. But anyway, let me know what you think about hostile terrain. If you charge them and you make it into contact with them, do you have to take the dangerous terrain tests? I don't know. Anyway, I lost a lot of Black Orcs the last time I played against these sappers. I charged with my Black Orcs and failed the charge, and half the Black Orcs died. I had started with 18 Black Orcs. I finished up getting into combat with about 6 of them later on. Anyway, that is my rules question of the day on hostile terrain. So we'll have a look at the table here. And as you can see, there's a big hill in the middle of the table, which is great for me. I'm thinking I can sneak all my sacrificial night goblins up the middle and they won't get shot off the table. And I can hurl fanatics at him, and yeah, we're going to have to do something about the slayers, otherwise it'll be game over. There's my army there deployed. There's the mighty orcs. So 3 units of 30 orcs. Bit out of focus there. Let's have it. Then the war machines arrayed up the back of the table. And the squeak hoppers. I'm worried about his gyrocopters getting behind me and killing all my war machines. So just keeping the squeak hoppers. That's their job, is to protect the war machines. Just 2 units of 5, they're only 60 points, and they're quite handy, and they hit pretty hard for a 60-point unit. So over the 3 games, when I used them properly, the squeak hoppers did pretty well. So the dwarves are going to go first. The slayers are arrayed in March column. They've got a vanguard move as well, so they're going to move up a little bit, and so the slayers are going to get up onto the hill. So and now we're going to have to knock them off the hill. So turn 1, we'll have a look at turn 1. The dwarves are going first, and the slayers are going to march up onto the hill. And the hill's going to help me because I'm going to be able to sneak all my night goblins straight up into him, and the night goblins shall have to fight the slayers. So we'll see what happens. Can the night goblins do it? Okay, well, it's time for Vanguard moves, and the Dwarves have got some Stroller's Rune, is it, or something, where the Slayers can do a little Vanguard move up, and the Scout Gyrocopters can Vanguard up as well. I'm not sure if they should Scout or Vanguard. Anyway, they moved up, and we get into turn 1, and the Dwarves are just going to move up onto the hill. I thought he might maybe reform with the Slayers or something, but anyway, he left them in march column and rushed up onto the hill. He was worried about the 100 points at the end of each turn. So the scenario is slightly modified, so you only get 100 points at the end of your turn. So it's not quite as fast cumulative scoring. But so he's going to score the first turn, do a bit of shooting, kill a few goblins or something, but no major damage. It's only I do more damage to myself here. On turn 1, I fired indirectly because I was worried about his cannons sniping my Doom Divers, so I had them way back out of line of sight behind units and so on. And I misfired with the Doom Diver, firing indirectly, misfired with a Rock Lobber, firing indirectly, but rolled 1s for both of those. And so I'm down, about 170 points on turn 1 of my own doing. So it hasn't been a very good start. I've lost 2 out of my 4 war machines. Not that they're going to do too much versus Dwarves anyway. And then I've just sent the Night Goblins up on the hill. They're going to sacrificial lambs. They're just going to try and fight the Slayers and send some fanatics through them. Bit of a traffic jam on my right flank, and he's done 1 wound to my Doom Diver there. He shot through here, through the 2 units and the forest into my Doom Diver. I think we weren't playing the rules correctly where you need line of sight. You need to pick a point in line of sight. Anyway, we sorted that out later. I got a foot of Gorkoff in the middle there, so that's interesting. Got a foot of Gorkoff, tried to send that out there. So my Shaman is over here somewhere. And the Night Goblins are going to go forward and take on the Slayers. So I've just sort of moved up and I'm going to release Fanatics in turn 2, I think. Oops, and another thing, a quick mention, is that I'm trying out netters for the first time. I've got plenty of netter models, so I added them, 20 points a unit. I thought I'll see how they go, give the Night Goblins a bit of a boost, and they've been pretty good over the 3 games. So in this case here, his turn, he's just going to move up. I think he's worried about the Fanatics going through the Gyrocopters. So he's going to charge with the Gyrocopters into one of the Night Goblin units so that I won't have easy runs for the Fanatics to just go through, destroy his Gyrocopters and go through the Slayers. So I'm going to try and whittle down the Slayers. It's probably the best way for me to do it without going into combat with them. But I think he's going to stay in march column at the moment, which I think we decided, we talked about it after the game. He should have expanded out his frontage, and he would have just wiped out Night Goblins pretty quickly, I'd say. So I think he stays in march column here. Okay, so the battle for the hill is about to take place. You can see that black marker, my Orc marker in the middle. That's the centre of the hill. So he's just going to shuffle the Slayers up to get... So he scores, so he's the closest model to the middle point. There's me still crying about my lost war machines. And my hoppers hanging out the back there. And there's the boys getting in each other's way. So you can see here the Gyrocopters have charged 1 unit. One's got a corner contact. One's gone into the front. And then I'm going to, in the compulsory movement phase, I'm going to send as many Fanatics as I can from those 2 front units through the Slayers and get rid of as many as I can, because you've got to kill them to a man. And there's quite a lot of them. So I'm going to try and whittle them down with Fanatics first. Okay, so the Gyrocopters are in, so he charges both Gyrocopters into 1 unit. He leaves the Slayers in march column again, I think, and moves them up to get them onto the objective. He wants to score that 100 points. So he's basically sitting on the objective. So the Night Goblins are going to have to push the Slayers back off the objective if we want to score it again. And my plucky little Night Goblins are going to have to... Well, they'll beat up the Gyrocopters. There's my baggage hiding behind the building. I deployed out of range of those handgunners, so I want him to come out of the woods so I can shoot him back. Would have been better off just sending Orcs up there and ranked up to go after them, but I would have probably lost the unit by the time they got there. But it would have taken some heat off the Night Goblins who are going to cop some shooting from cannons and bolt throwers and stone throwers in the middle. So the combat that's going to go well for me, the gyrocopters are going to break. They're going to fly away, and then we'll overrun towards the handgunners. I keep wanting to call them rangers, handgunners. You can see his tape measure there. He's getting flank shots into the left-hand side unit of Night Goblins. I'm losing a few ranks of those before they go into the Slayers. But the Slayers are still in march column, so it's just going to be my combat res versus what he can do to me. And if I can get some nets, throw some nets on him, that might help, which it does. I'm pretty wrapped with the netters. I'm going to keep the netters in there from now on. They've done pretty well most of the time. I've only netted myself 2 times in 3 games, I think. So his bolt throwers on the flank, etc. I've got nowhere to get over there quickly to get at them. And so I beat up the gyrocopters and overrun, not quite making it to his handgunners, taking dangerous terrain tests for the sappers' hostile terrain, for those Night Goblins running over the hill. These Night Goblins are a bit slower, advancing up the right-hand side, and the ones on top of the hill, they've got a fanatic right in front of them, but they're just going to have to charge through the fanatic into the Slayers while they're in march column and try and push them back off the objective. So the battle for the hill is on. Okay, so we're into the bottom of turn 2, and I'm sending Night Goblins in, so those Night Goblins have gone into the Slayers. Slayers are still in march column, so I think I can probably push them back. I've charged through the fanatic, and I've taken some casualties from the fanatic and some from his shooting from the flank and so on, and the other guys have gone in there. So I do manage to beat up the Slayers. I lost a few Night Goblins, but we pushed them back a couple of inches. So now we're going to claim the objective. And then these Night Goblins who overran after killing not chasing away the gyrocopters, they're into the handgunners, which has got his BSB and Burlock Gundersons in there as well. So they're beating up them. And they break. They actually break and flee because we outnumbered them 2-1. And so that was a big victory there. Those Night Goblins have punched through with the help of the gyrocopters, giving them an overrun, and then into his handgunners. And then these Night Goblins are fighting very bravely versus the Slayers with the help of the netters. So the netters have done pretty well. That little -1 pip to wound has really helped them out. Okay, so we're into turn 3, and it looks like we're going to push the dwarves off the hill here. This point here, he was trying to rally the handgunners with his BSB and Gunderson in there, but I didn't think they could rally because they needed a double 1 for insurmountable losses. There was only 2 handgunners left out of the, I think 14 or something, plus a couple of characters. So I had to quickly find the TO, and it turns out that they didn't rally because they needed a double 1. And so the Night Goblins are pushing the Slayers off the hill, surprisingly. And he's winning that right flank because he's just shooting me. And I've got some Orcs here in backup. There's no way for them through. With so many infantry units, it's hard to get them all into action. Probably should have ranked those guys up and gone for a flank or something. I just got a couple of units of Orcs sitting there doing nothing. But they're handy. They're just back up to take the hill. The Night Goblins are up the front doing all the work, and the ones on the right flank are going after his cannon, and so he's not going to be able to rally Gunderson and the BSB, so they're off the table, and we're just sort of mopping up on the hill. So eventually the Night Goblins, surprisingly, are going to bust through and take the hill. The netters have been really good. And you can see here, I'm surrounding what's left of the Slayers. In desperation, he sends the gyrocopter into the rear to try and do some damage. But the big thing is that unit's just running off the table. So that's a big victory on that flank. And just got too many Orcs to get into combat there.
This is where he sends the gyrocopter into the rear. But I've been doing pretty well with the netters, and he hasn't been rolling very well. He's been rolling a lot of 1s and 2s to hit, etc. Goblins are easy to hit, but that netter's just dropping, instead of wounding on 2s and 3s, he might be wounding on 3s and 4s or something. So it just helps out. So that's pretty much it. This is sort of getting into turn 4 and 5, and he's going to finish off my Night Goblins, but they've done their job. There's the gyrocopter into the rear. We've got to kill those slayers to a man, and every time I kill a few, in their death blows, they kill a few more Night Goblins. So that's getting towards the end of the game. Okay, so the final couple of turns here, I'm eventually going to finish off the slayers. He's got his handgunners, I call them thunderers, I think they are. Anyway, he reforms them to face the threat from the mighty Night Goblins in the middle. I still have that big unit of 30 Orcs there in reserve. The other Night Goblins are going after a cannon. And I've got a unit of Orcs in the middle which are getting shot by everything. And I lose half of them, virtually. I think I do lose more than half of them. And they fall back in good order, then rally and reform and get back up on the hill. And I've got another unit of Orcs that I don't do anything with. And there's the last stand of the Night Goblins. He shoots them with his Thunderers, and so that unit's going to die to a man. And I've only got about 5 or 6 left here on the hill, holding the objective still. And my hoppers are swirling about, and there's that unit of Orcs. There's my hoppers. I've still got my 2 units of hoppers. They were waiting for the gyrocopters to pop over the top, but his cannon and my misfiring got rid of 3 of my war machines. And that's the last stand of the Night Goblins with the war banner. I think I forgot they had the war banner, probably all game. Anyway, that's the unit with the war banner. And you can see this unit of 30 Orcs here, I just couldn't be bothered moving them all game, so they just sat there doing nothing. I would have been better off ranking them up and just going straight at the Thunderers there. Would have saved the Orcs in the middle from a lot of shooting. And the other Orcs on the other flank, I didn't do much with them either, but they were just a bunker for the Shaman. There's the last stand, so he's going to shoot I think there's a Night Goblin war boss in that unit as well. There's one guy left, just the champion left of those Night Goblins, and some Night Goblins on the hill. And then my Orcs there, they rallied, so these Orcs are going to rally and move up onto the hill. These guys, I was too lazy to move them up. And the other guys were just being a bunker. And the other Night Goblins went up there, marched up to the fence, and then next turn they dropped Fanatics over the fence and destroyed this cannon, which had destroyed one of my Doom Divers. And that's pretty much it. So the Netters and the Night Goblins won the game for me. They did well, took the hill and took on the Slayers and everything. It ended up being about a 13-7 victory to the Orcs and Goblins. Well, we'll call it the Night Goblins did all the work. The Orcs just milled about up the back. All right, so the Netters were pretty good. And this is a scene from the beginning of the next round where I'm facing Cathay. So you can see I've got heaps of stuff. And he's got a couple of giant balloons and so on. So stay tuned for round 2. But round 1 was a solid victory versus the Dwarves. And we march on to round 2. And I was pretty happy with how the boys went. I could have done a lot of things better. Could have actually moved some Orcs and got them into combat. But that's probably a theme for all 3 games, which I didn't use them aggressively enough probably. Because they got war bows, I tend to want to sit and shoot with them, where I should be actually getting in there with their choppers. But that's 2020 hindsight after 3 games. All right, stay tuned for round 2. Thanks for watching. Apologies for my voice, been a bit crook lately. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Well, that was different.
Yep, lousy,
But different.